Hey everyone, let me show you what I did for the latest updates of Floyd Keys Deluxe. This is the Dark Side of the Moon main stage concert, alright? Just a reminder, if you're watching this video before you have more information, Floyd Keys Deluxe is a collection of keyboard and synthesizer sounds made using the Arturia V collection instruments. You don't need to own any licenses to be able to import and play these sounds, alright? There's a free version of the Arturia software that you can download, and that is enough for you to be able to import and play the sounds. This software you see on the screen is called MainStage. This is a digital audio workstation made by Apple, so this is Mac only, and this is a paid product, but it costs like 30 bucks in the App Store. I like it very much, but it's Mac only, unfortunately. I am thinking about moving over to Gig Performer, which is a platform that is hosted on both Mac and Windows, okay? But if you want to use these main stage concerts, they are layouts of all the songs, the sounds, as you can see here. Breathe, I have an organ sound on top, an electric piano sound on the bottom. Time, mellotron sound on top, electric piano sound on the bottom, Moog sound here, a sample in the corner. So this is a preset of a layout of the entire album. All the songs are here, all the sounds are conveniently laid out, okay? Now let's talk about this update. I completely revised all main stage concerts. This is what a main stage concert looks like, a complete set of settings, volumes, effects, and sounds. I had to separate this entire sound pack into 6 different main stage concerts because otherwise it would be too big of a file and you would need a spaceship computer to be able to run everything smoothly, okay? So there's one main stage concert for Dark Side of the Moon, one for Wish You Were Here, one for Animals, one for The Wall, one for the early years, and one for the later years, okay? The first thing I did for this update is I revised all 6 main stage concerts. That is, I improved this workspace here, this black canvas. There are a few more controls. I'm going to talk more about this soon. Several minor improvements, such as more patches for some songs, because some songs require more patches for convenience and efficiency purposes, okay, for you to better transition between each part of the song. I have leveled out the volumes better. I have, so basically minor improvements like these. I have fixed a few sample issues. There were a few samples on the Animals main stage concerts that were .m4a extension. On the Animals main stage concerts, there was 1 or 2 patches that had more than one sample loaded here. I'm going to talk more about samples soon, but I fixed a few things on the samples, a few improvements, new standardized layouts, which looks better and works better. And I made a bunch of new Hammond organ sounds using the IK Multimedia B3X, okay? Now this is a Hammond organ plugin made by IK Multimedia. This is a different company, but my subscribers pointed me to this plugin, saying that it is the best Hammond organ plugin out there. I agree with them. It's fantastic, it sounds fantastic, but this is a paid plugin. All of the same sounds are available for the Arturia sound engine, okay? They were available for the Arturia sound engine for years, but then I remade all of these sounds in this better sound engine from IK Multimedia. So if you want the absolute best Hammond organ sounds, I recommend that you purchase this plugin, and the presets will be available for you. They are included in Floyd Keys Deluxe, okay? So even if you don't buy anything else, you just buy Floyd Keys Deluxe, you get the entire sound pack, which you can import and play for free using Analog Lab, right? No need to buy any Arturia licenses. But if you want to use MainStage, you have to buy MainStage. If you want to use the Hammond B3X presets, you have to buy the Hammond B3X. All right. This is probably huge. The biggest part of this whole update, it's these presets here. This sound engine sounds so freaking good. It's just so good. I'm not gonna play in this video, but this organ sound engine sounds pretty good. But beware, because it is kind of heavy on your CPU. This is a CPU meter that I put here. This little thing indicates how much of my CPU is being used to process all of these sounds at once, okay? This is kind of overkill right now because I have both the Hammond B3X and the Arturia B3V2. So I have a stack of two different Hammond organ sounds here, and the only purpose is for you to compare the two if you want, okay? You can see that the Arturia channel strip is here, the Hammond B3X channel strip is here, and the Hammond B3X channel strip is muted. I assigned this button right here to switch between the two. Do you see the mutes switching here? So if you want to test the Arturia sound engine, you use this one. If you want to use the Hammond B3 sound engine, you use this one, okay? Now, regarding this Dark Side of the Moon main stage concerts, the first time you open these main stage concerts, you have to connect all of your gear to this main stage concert, okay? This is a digital program, and you can see the keyboards, bend wheels, mod wheels, pedals. These are not automatically assigned to your gear. You have to specify what triggers what, okay? How do you do that? This is the layout mode of main stage. When you come here, you can both add controls to the screen. You can change what these controls do and a bunch of other things. But you can also assign these controls to your gear. So this is what you have to do. Open the main stage concert. It's going to open here. First click you're going to make is go into layout, click on the top keyboard, get into assign mode, okay? If it's red, you are now on assign mode. Now just tap a key on your top keyboard and it's going to automatically assign your keyboard to this keyboard here. This means that whatever sounds are up here in whatever patch are going to be triggered by your top keyboard, okay? So that's how you assign your top keyboard to this virtual keyboard. You have to assign the physical to the virtual, all right? You can also just click here, port, and choose your keyboard if you see here on the list. But by default, it's gonna come as MIDI Keylab Mark 261 because that's my top keyboard, okay? If you click assign, you are now on assign mode. You don't need to click assign one thing, and then click assign again, assign another thing, assign again. If it's red, you are on assign mode. It's very easy to assign. Just click on the control you want to assign, and then move the physical thing you want to control this thing. So in this case, it's the mod wheel. You just click on it, move the mod wheel of your top keyboard. Simple as that. Click here, move your bend wheel. Click here, tap on a key on your bottom keyboard. Click here, move your bottom mod wheel. Click here, move your bottom bend wheel, and repeat the process for all controls that you want, okay? These are these are sustain pedals. This is an expression pedal. If you want to add more pedals, such as one more pedal, let's say, you can just do this, and you can right click this, lift, right click this, and stamp. This is like copy and paste, so it's going to paste the appearance of this pedal right here, and then you can add it right next to it. This is how you can customize your main stage concerts, okay? What's important other than these are assign the next patch button and the previous patch button. Most people use MIDI controllers nowadays and you have pads. I like to use pads for these patch changes. And this means that every time you hit the specific pad that you selected, you don't have to click on the next patch. Just tap that pad and it goes over to the next song. This is pretty good to transition between different parts of different songs. Very quickly switch between different sounds. And this works even in perform mode. So if you're here and you are live on stage, you can just tap there and go to the next sound, next patch, okay? So the first thing you should do, open the main stage concerts, one by one, assign your keyboards, all of your controls. You can even customize the colors if you want to make it look more like better to your taste, if you want it to look better. But yeah, this is how you do the basic setup. Now, the next thing you should do is, for this specific concert, the Dark Side of the Moon concert, I have removed the on the run sample here. Everything is perfectly laid out except the sample. Why? My website service and store provider limits me to 100 megabytes per file that I can deliver to you upon purchase. So if I add the sample here, this file becomes bigger than 100 megabytes, and therefore I can't deliver it to you upon purchase. So I removed it, but all you have to do is go to the on the run patch, go to instruments, add a quick sampler. From here you load audio file and you select the on the run soundscape. The sample is going to load, and there are a few things that you have to do here. Remember this for the future. Whenever you add a sample here, it's going to automatically distribute across the keyboards. This means that middle C is going to play the sample as it is saved, but if you try different keys, the pitch is going to be corrected. This means that it's going to play slower or faster, and the pitch is going to be different. To disable this, click on key tracking. Now all keys are going to play the sample at the same exact pitch, okay? Here you have the velocity sensitivity slider. You have to take this down to 0 because this makes it so that the sample is always played at the same volume. If it's right here, if you press harder on the key, it's going to play louder. If you press softly on the key, it's going to play lower. But for consistency, you always want the samples to play at the same volume. So disable the velocity sensitivity, okay? For safety purposes, I also turn off the key trigger of the LFO here and go to mono mode. The last thing is make it a one-shot sample. If it's classic, you have to hold down the sample in order for the sample to play entirely. One shot means you can just tap a key and the sample will play in its entirety, okay? Now that you have correctly set up, attached your gear to these virtual controls, and you have added the sample here to on the run, just go back to breathe and go Control S or Command S to save, okay? Or just come here and go File, Save, okay? That's the basic setup. Now, let us go over the improvements. I don't remember exactly all improvements because I do this pretty often and I don't write down every single button I click, right? But this is good for Dark Side of the Moon. There are two patches for time because one is for the intro where it's a different combination of electric pianos here, and there a different patch for the verses, or it's a different octave of the words are here. Anyway, I did this a few times across some different songs, especially on the Animals and Wish You Were Here concerts. So let me just move over to the Wish You Were Here concert. Here's the Wish You Were Here, June 2025. It's gonna take a while to load, of course, that's OBS. And here it is. I recorded a tutorial for Shine On Part 6 through 9, which is one of my favorite songs by Pink Floyd. And I'm pretty sure that before this update, this wasn't the way it was laid out. Now I have a transition patch here for the transition between parts 8 and 9. And on part 9 here you can see that I'm using chord triggers. This is new, this wasn't here before. This is so you can play very full part 9 where you have the main lead, but you also have a piano sound and a synth pad sound. Chord triggers allows you to play only one key and trigger an entire chord like this. So this is a G minor chord, this is a B flat minor, F minor, okay? All you have to do is tap one key and you can play entire chords. Rick Wright obviously overdubbed these things, but if you want to play everything just being one keyboardist, you can sort of get around this using chord trigger, okay? If you want more information regarding this, there are two videos, one for Shine On Part 6 through 9 and one which is a breakdown where I talk more about these things, okay? There are these Moog samples here, which are one-tap samples. I recorded these using actual sounds I made on the Mini Moog sound engine, Mini V4, but then I sampled them and added them to the sampler engine. So here, if you go to mapping, you can see that there are many different keys, many different pitches for the same sample, and it's this sound right here. I don't know if you're listening to the sound right now because I'm recording using OBS, but yeah, you just have to tap once and you hear the entire samples, okay? Now, so yeah, many different, not many different, but this is a new layout, a new improvement for this specific song. When I first launched Floyd Keys Deluxe version 2, I did lay out all the sounds, but this is very, how can I put this? This is very detailed work, you know. You have to go patch by patch, channel strip by channel strip. So I can't do this all in one day, do this all in 1 week. I have to come back, revise next week. I have to come back later and revise. And then I record a tutorial for this song, and then I see that this would have been better if, and then I improved it. So this is the latest update. It has been greatly improved across many different main stage concerts. All right. Now let me go back to the, let me go to the Animals concerts, because there were a few issues regarding the Animals concerts. Here we have sheep, and one of the samples we have to use for the sheep is the prayer sample. It's right here in the corner. This was called sheep oração before, which was Portuguese, which is Portuguese for prayer, and it was .m4a. Now all samples are standardized as .wave, okay, and they are appropriately named. Sheep prayer, not sheep oração anymore. There is one more issue, which is if you click here, you can see all of these options, and if you choose load audio file and you just select another file, for example, the in the right, or lath effects, I can see now the Roger Waters lath here, but I can see only one sample. But if you click here, you can actually see that there is a hidden sample right here. This issue happens, and it took me a while to notice, but there was a double sheep oração prayer sample here, you know, .m4a, and so all you have to do is click remove current file and make sure that there's only one sample. I did this for all quick samplers, and now there's only one sample, and the names are appropriate, okay? All of the samples that are loaded into all of the main stage concerts are exactly as the samples are named in the Pink Floyd samples download link you can use, okay? So if by any chance you don't find the samples, you open the main stage concert the first time and it says missing sample, you have to relink the samples because main stage didn't find them by default. So I recommend that you first you buy Floyd Keys Deluxe, you download the Pink Floyd samples, consider leaving a tip there, and then you store them in an appropriate place. I like to use the music folder of my Mac, okay? When everything is stored in the right place, everything is safely stored, then you open the main stage concerts, assign your gear, double check the on the run sample that I mentioned, and if you get any warnings of missing samples, you have to relink. How do you do the relinking? Well, I don't remember exactly here, but I think when the warning comes, there's a button to relink, to look for the samples, and then you can browse, find the right place where you stored, and relink all samples, okay? So yeah, this is the new layout for Dogs. It was different before. This is the way that I like. So Dogs is only one song, but there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different patches just for Dogs, okay? Dogs has different sounds, Farfisa then Hammond. Then we have a split of Hammond and Moog. Then we have the guitar solos, the duets, but I left the Moog on top here in case your band doesn't have two guitarists. I think most Pink Floyd tribute bands don't have two guitarists. And so if you want to play Dogs, you absolutely have to play this Moog here. Moog Solina splits, sample there. Dogs Stone. Oh, this Stone sample here is missing. Why? Because this is the Stone sound, you know. I didn't find this sample anywhere. I don't think it exists roaming around the internet. What I did when I played live is I used my own sample. I recorded myself going, so, oh, and then I looped it and I started using it. I didn't do this anymore because, yeah, I'm not playing live currently. So if you want to use it, I recommend doing this. Record yourself saying stone, and then you add it here, you loop it, you process it however you want. But this sample is missing, is really missing. I don't have any samples to offer you for this. Okay, this dog sample here, I created using like dogs noises I found online, and then I processed it using the Leslie speaker effects of main stage. Maybe it can be improved by putting it through a vocoder, because I'm pretty sure it's a dog sound going through a vocoder. I didn't do that because I prefer the sound of just the Leslie. But if you want to make it closer to the record, process the sample through a vocoder, okay? So yeah, I recorded tutorials for both dogs and sheep. So this is the perfect layout I like to play these songs. This main stage concert was different before, so I improved these layouts. Now let me go back to the Dark Side of the Moon main stage concert because I have to talk about these controls and these buttons right here. So 4 different sliders. You can have as many sliders as you want, but I left 4 because that's the maximum amount of sliders I use on a realistic frame, okay? I prefer having less because the less moving parts you have in your concert, in your layout, the better. The less margins you leave for things to go wrong, you know? When I first learned main stage, I wanted to assign everything. Oh, so I want the volume of this Hammond to this fader, the volume of this here, the volume of that here, all volumes mapped out to different faders, everything mapped out to buttons, because I was excited about using main stage and learning it. But in reality, when you are in a live situation, you are on stage, you don't want all volumes to be assigned to faders, because if you just accidentally move a fader, the volume is going to be messed up, and then you have to find the right place, and there's no way you can memorize the right volume for all sounds across a full Pink Floyd show, you know? So I like leveling out the volumes at home in my studio, making sure that everything is fine, and then in rehearsal I double check the volumes. In rehearsing, the first few times with your band, you should level out the volumes to make sure that they fit your band, you know? And then live, maybe you move it once or twice to make sure that it's perfect for live purposes. As soon as you have your volumes dialed, try not to move them so much because everything's perfect. And one of the biggest challenges us keyboardists, specifically Pink Floyd keyboardists, have is the volumes. I am pretty sure that a lot of people who actually play in Pink Floyd tributes relate to this. Different volumes, so many different sounds, so many different Hammonds, so many different Moogs, electric pianos, and yes, so many different volumes. That's the issue. If you constantly keep moving your volumes around, then your performance is really inconsistent. You appear clunky to your bandmates, you know, because you are playing a section of a song. For example, you're playing Time here, and the volumes are nice. And then you move to the next patch, and now this Wurlitzer sound is super loud. And then everybody's, oh, something's going on there. You don't want this to happen, so the volumes are leveled to my liking, to my studio, to my gear. Your gear is probably different. It's probably going to have a different sound. Your headphones, your keyboard amp, if you use one. I use a Roland KC350. So yes, volumes are very challenging. Try leveling them out, and then when you have everything laid out, make it like lock it so you can't move it around so much. There are 4 sliders here, but these are mainly for Solina sounds, volumes that actually have to be faded here and there, okay? So for instance, I think it's better if we use the You Wish You Were Here concert. because on the Wish You Were Here concerts, there's one song where I actually use all 4 of these sliders, and that's Welcome to the Machine. Why? We have this giant stack of sounds there, and there's the wow. This is the wow, 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 wow sound. This is noise. Then Hammond. This should be further here. Let me move it there. The Hammond shouldn't be here. These 4 volumes here are for the wah 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 sound and noise. The first one for these 2. The second fader is attached to the bass pings. The third fader is attached to the noise pings, and the fourth fader is attached to this single bass, that bam Moog bass. Okay, this is very heavy on your CPU because there are too many sounds being processed. I know. If you have an older machine, consider dialing out some of the sounds, just deleting some of the channel strips and having a simpler setup to play the song, you know. But this is as faithful I can get to the actual song, okay? So this is probably the only song that uses all 4 faders. If we go to songs like Shine On parts 2 and 4, I am using only 1 fader, and this is attached to the volume of the Hammond. Which Hammond? The one on top, because I have a Hammond on the bottom and then I have another Hammond on top. Why? When you play that solo where there's a Hammond and a Moog lead, you're gonna have to figure out the balance between the volume of the Moog and the Hammond, you know. So this is why I left this volume here accessible, so that you can map out this fader, and then while you are rehearsing, if you think the Hammond organ is too loud or too low, you can adapt, and then after you play the solo, you can just go Command S and save, so that that volume is saved, okay? And these buttons here, I made them be a switch between the 2 different Hammond organ sounds, such as, yeah, let's talk about this one here. Or no, because it has 4 different Hammond organ sounds. Wish You Were Here. B3X and Arturia B3V2. These are buttons. You can add these using the layout mode. It's a foot switch, you know, like a stomp box. There are many different foot switch controls that you can use. You know, there are many different gear options, like hardware options that you can buy to use these things, but you can actually assign these to be triggered by buttons on your MIDI controller. Most MIDI controllers have a keyboard, sliders, knobs, and pads, and buttons. I specifically used like the instrument category buttons to trigger these 2 here on my keylab. I added 2 functions for this button. One is a mute function, and here selects for which channel strip. The Arturia B3V2, the 4th channel strip, this one. But if I click on it, I can just click plus and create one more assignment. So I created one mute assignment for this and another mute assignment for the Hammond B3X. The only thing is, here the range mode is standard, here the range mode is inverted. So what does this do? If I click on the button, I mute one and unmute the other. So this is a switch between these 2 different Hammond organ sound engines within the same patch. Okay? So this is Wish You Were Here. There are 2 Hammond organ sounds. Let me compare the 2. So you just play one, you press on the button, you are now playing the other one. Press on the button again, you're now playing back the same one. So these are 2 different Hammond organ sound engines, but there is really no need for you to have both at the same time. What do I recommend? If you have a capable machine, in this case, I used an older MacBook for a long time, but now I finally upgraded to an M4 Pro. So even with an M4 Pro Mac, it's costing half of my CPU right now. But I don't have the power plugged in at this moment. If you want to use the very best sounds and you have a capable machine, delete all channel strips that have the Arturia B3V2 sound engine, okay? And then just stick to the Hammond B3X by IK Multimedia. If you have an older machine and Hammond B3X is too heavy on your CPU, then stick to using the Arturia sound engine and delete all channel strips with the Hammond B3X. Okay, so there is, how can I put this? I'm sure you can see how this is a lot of work. I did a lot of work in recreating all of the sounds one at a time and then laying out all of the sounds for the songs the best possible way. This was a monumental task, but you still have work to do because once you make a purchase, you have to connect everything to your gear, and then you are going to have to choose between the Hammond organ sounds, see which songs are the heaviest on your CPUs, keep leveling out the volumes, add effects because some people prefer wetter reverbs. Sometimes you want a delay that I didn't add. Sometimes you want this sound to be on the left. As you can see here for Have a Cigar, the two modes, they are kind of panned to the left and the right, but this is not so much. Maybe you prefer them being hard panned, so you do this. I don't know. Okay, so a lot of setup work, but I have a blast doing this. I actually enjoy it. It is a lot of work, many hours I put into this, and now I think you can put many hours into your own sets and customizing these things. Okay, so I think that's all for this video. Many improvements. Oh no, that's not all. Very important part of the video. Hammond B3X sounds. How do you import them? Because let me move over to the Dark Side of the Moon concerts. OBS. Yes, there we are. If you choose to use the Hammond B3X sound engine, how do you import the presets I made? Unfortunately, I don't know why, it's not all companies that have this Arturia thing of just clicking here and then import. You see, this is so good, so convenient. I don't know why all companies don't do this. IK Multimedia doesn't do this. So if you open the Hammond B3X, you can see this instrument, and if you click here, you can see the preset list. But if you click on the three white lines, the hamburger icon, we have save and save as. Where's the import button? There is no import button. Oh, why? Why? Okay, so how do you import the presets? When you make a purchase, you are gonna get, this is a Floyd Keys Deluxe. When you make a purchase, you are gonna get a download like this. Hammond B3X preset files.zip. If it's .zip, you can just, let me delete this. If it's just this file .zip, you can just double click this on Mac or right click and decompress on Windows. This is a compressed file. You double click, you're gonna get this folder and all of the preset files are included within. So you select all of these preset files, copy them, and you have to put them in the right place. Where is the right place? If I click here, I can see the exact pathway of a folder. So let me go to MacBook Pro. This is the global folder, my Mac. Your HD, users, your user, documents, IK Multimedia, Hammond B3X, presets. Here are all the presets, okay? So this is the pathway for the presets folder of the IK Multimedia B3X. You find this folder, you paste the preset files here. The preset files are called, the extension is .b3xp. P probably for presets. B3X preset, right? These are all the factory presets plus the ones I made on top. ALPF is Alan Lobo Pink Floyd, okay? JRDP is Jordan Rudess Deep Purple. We have TB for Tom Breslin presets. ALs are the Alan Lobo presets, okay? So again, this is the pathway. your HD users, your user documents, IK multimedia, Hammond B3X presets. It's basically the same for Windows. If you are unsure about it, just like ask GPT or Grok or anything, where is the presets folder for Hammond B3X on Windows? But it's pretty similar. It's like see your user documents, IK multimedia, Hammond B3X presets, all right? Once you store the presets here, they aren't going to magically appear right here automatically. They are going to magically appear here, but not in a split second. When I did this, I was like, okay, I did it. Where are the presets? They didn't appear at once, so I closed this. I closed the main stage concert, and then I opened the main stage concert back up, and then I opened B3X, and there they were. Okay? So, in order for you to use these superior Hammond organ sounds, head over to the IK Multimedia website, purchase B3X. It is fantastic. It has a wonderful layout, very visual, very cool, a wonderful sound, more importantly. And then you store the files in the correct folder. Okay, by default, I think the right presets are going to be loaded here, but it's not going to be named like they are here automatically. If you didn't save the presets before and you just open the main stage concert, go into breathe, open Hammond B3X, it's going to say Hammond B3X here. It's going to be the same layout. The controls are going to be set exactly as they are here. So technically the preset is going to be right, just the name is going to be Hammond B3X. But later on you add these to the library and probably they will be upgraded. They will be not upgraded, they will be updated and you will see the right names, okay? So yes, this video was a lot longer than I expected, but I did need to talk about all of these things, okay? I am not going to work on another update for Floyd Keys Deluxe anytime soon right now. So today is July 8th, 2025. I am working on a big project and I'm going to have to step away from Floyd Keys Deluxe for a while because this is already fantastic. Everything is laid out pretty conveniently, but I have some more work to do on another front. So thank you for understanding. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you aren't already. See you guys.